Did you hear that? Oh yes, I think it's really them! I think the Blue Angels are in town! Oh, never mind, it was just a Swellow. I could have sworn that was a plane. Of all of the bird Pokemon we've explored so far, Swellow and Taillow are by far the easiest to explain. Like, we don't have to dive into any obscure genetics or ancient mythology this time. All we have to do is replace a single letter in their name. And we understand them almost fully. If I had a nickel for every time Game Freak just took an animal name and replaced an A with an E, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but... Wait, I think I've used this joke before. This is a plushie. Dear God, there's more. No! Look, I've got a little Taillow plush from 2003, back when Taillow was new, and it's kind of beat up and weird. But then I also have a Taillow plush from like 2-3 years ago, from the Sitting Cuties line that they did. Look at the quality difference. There's actually like proper coloring and saturation, and the eyes aren't like bad. The claws are like... claws? Classic Taillow just needs to work on the talon hygiene. But yes, Swellow is a swallow, and a swell swallow at that. Swallows are a small passerine bird found in most areas around the world, including Antarctica. Bet you weren't expecting that one. Or an instant transition into a sponsored segment. NordVPN is a great way to save your day. Like, are you a bird that can fly over international borders all you want? Then you don't need it. But if you're a human like me, it can come in handy. I hate being blocked away from viewing content because of where I live. Discrimination is always a bummer, so I use NordVPN to tell the internet that I am somewhere else, like England.
Now I can watch all the Taskmaster I want without having to be British!
But NordVPN does more than that. It also encrypts your data to keep you safe. Like, are you ever using public Wi-Fi? Anyone with the right software and the wrong mindset can see everything you do, including your passwords. But with NordVPN's traffic encryption, they don't. It's just that simple. And there's so much privacy too, it's like being out here. And the best part? Right now, new users can get a huge discount with the purchase of a 2-year plan, plus 4 months free. And all you gotta do is fly on down to the link below. Thanks, Taillow. Oh, right! Taillow's a swallow too, but its name also consists of tail, the most striking aspect of the whole species. Their tails are forked with jetting feathers that they use to fly and navigate in ways that other birds find impossible. Just look at these acute maneuvers! Such precision! Wow! And considering the uniqueness of their coloring, the pair seem to be based on the same species. Blue and red aren't typical combinations in nature, so it should be pretty easy to match the real-life counterpart, right? Well, not exactly. Look, don't get me wrong here, there absolutely is a species that exactly matches this description. But so does another, and another, and another. In fact, the barn swallow, the Pacific swallow, the welcome swallow, the Angolan swallow, the hill swallow, and the red-chested swallow look all like this. 6 in total. And I don't need a repeat of last time. I can't go into every detail of every bird species that looks like a Pokemon as generic as Pidgey, guys. So I only mentioned the few that are closest. And swallows, thus Swellow, is no different. But at least the Kyushu region of Japan, the real-life counterpart to Hoenn, is home to 2 of the species mentioned, the Pacific and barn swallows. So these 2 are probably a big part of what inspired Taillow's creation. Though it's also possible Game Freak just looked at swallows as a whole the same way they did with Pidgey. And that's really pretty much it regarding Taillow's design. But Swellow, you're just getting started. First, have you noticed that nearly every regional bird evolves from a prey species into a predator? That remains true for this line too. It circles the sky in search of prey. It dives at a steep angle as soon as it spots its prey and catches its prey with sharp claws. Aw, yeah, cool raptor stuff. It's like the long-crested eagle or the ornate hawk eagle or something, hence the long hair-like feathers on the back, I suppose, though they appear more reminiscent of a northern lapwing pointing down. But now also consider the swallow-tailed kite. Sure, its color doesn't match at all, but almost everything else it has going on does. The sharp wings, the claws, and the scissored tail are identical to swallows, and even behavior-wise, they are not too far off either. Kites are birds of prey just like hawks and eagles, meaning they're mainly carnivorous and perform various aerial acrobatics when hunting prey. And while on the topic of unrelated fork-tailed birds, the crested tree swift has Swellow's whole crest thing going on, and look, it even matches the color scheme. Kinda. As for the shiny variant, it's actually a lot harder to find a green and orange swallow than you'd think. Really, the closest we have is the violet green swallow and the horribly named golden swallow. It's not gold. I guess a swallow isn't what we're looking for. I'll spit it out then. The resplendent quetzal. Now we're talking. It's another unrelated fork-tailed bird, and I mean, the red isn't an exact match to Swellow's orange, but it's pretty darn close overall. Caught it. Now these, yes, they are tail feathers, but broaden your horizons a little bit, man. Don't just see them as feathers, see them as tails for a moment. Twin tails, to be exact, as in the twin tails seen on F-18s and other similar fighter jets. And if you think about it, Swellow's whole posture is pretty much the same as a fighter jet, right? And it swells itself up to try and appear intimidating, as any strong military or air force should be. Heck, the red pattern on its chest is shaped like a chevron, a shape commonly used to denote military rankings, including Japan's air defense force. And plus, many of their jets are blue. Now, I bet you're wondering why these planes even have these to begin with, aside from just looking really cool, that is. Well, it's the same reason that swallows and other birds we mentioned have forked tails too. It's deluxe aerial mobility action. Planes must be as mobile and precise as possible during combat, so these tails allow the aircraft to turn at angles that would otherwise be impossible with a single tail. And you can really see these in action at air shows, like what the Blue Angels do. And they're also blue. And on a side note, did you know they refuel these things while airborne? Look at them thread the needle here. Again, deluxe aerial mobility action. It's so cool. Similarly, swallows refuel while flying too, to keep in motion and keep safe from predators while going down for a drink of water.
Which swelling up your chest to look all bigger and tougher can do too.
And I want to go ahead and go back to its strange head feathers. It took me a while to pin this down, but aside from those birds mentioned, it could also pull from similar hairstyles and how they are often portrayed in media, especially Japanese media. We find similar haircuts on characters like Matengard from Phoenix Wright, a speedy action star who cares a lot about his looks, just like these bird Pokemon. There's also Nishikiyama from Yakuza, a tough businessman Yakuza boss who spends over an hour per day perfecting his hair, cares a lot about his looks, and has just like this exact same facial expression, I might add. There's the Raikage from Naruto, who are similarly associated with speed and toughness, and Swellow does have the guts ability. That's all about being tough. It's almost like a brushed mullet, which was popular in Japan in the 80s through the early 2000s, and is known to be associated with the strong businessman type. And heck, even outside of Japan, this haircut has similar associations. The MCU's Loki has it, and he's a big tough villain who's also prideful. Yeah? But is Swellow supposed to be kinda prideful of its looks and speed? It does have a dex entry that states it's very conscientious about the upkeep of its glossy wings, which could pull from that hair trope. Or maybe it just has hair feathers like this to insinuate speed. Think like sonic spikes. And I mean, when you go fast in like a convertible car, your hair does fly back, but I just can't help feel like there's a connection here. I mean, the facial expression, right? But I also feel like it might have something to do with samurai. If you watched our video covering the Staraptor line, you'll remember we briefly discussed how Aerial Ace was basically Swellow's signature move in Gen 3, and it's referred to as Swallow Return in Japan. But now that we're actually on the Swallow Pokemon, it'd be illegal not to go into more detail. Sasaki Kojiro was an ancient and powerfully skilled swordsman rumored to roam the Honshu and Kyushu regions during the Edo period of Japan. It's still up for debate whether he actually existed or not, but what we do know is that Swallow Return was supposedly his signature blade technique, and it was said to mimic the motion of a swallow's tail during some acrobatic flight. It involved a swift downward cut immediately followed by an upward slash. The maneuver was so quick it could strike down a bird mid-flight, and that's why the move never misses in Pokemon. It's just too darn fast! This circles right back around to Swellow's hair and tails. In this context, you could see its tails as the two swords samurai would carry, and the hair then could be a simplified or modernized version of the chonmage, especially before the top part is folded back over the top. If you want more details about that haircut though, we covered it in significantly more detail in the video that is all about Starly, Staravia, and Staraptor's hair baubles, because that's kinda what it is. And you can check that out here. Or, if you want to see a different bird dive into water to refuel itself, we've got a big video about Cramorant, and you'll love consuming that. So until next time, thanks for watching, and never stop using your noggin.